Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. Lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, the loving light will guide you. I know that life outside.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world, and welcome to tonight's live stream and talk about timing. Oh my gosh, with the whole of South Africa just going totally pear-shaped thanks to the economic freedom fighters, we now have an urgent warning to all people living in rural areas and farmers to be extra vigilant and very aware over the next week, especially from Friday the 11th through to Sunday the 13th of September. The latest media coverage and massive protests against farm attacks and farm murders in South Africa, both locally and internationally, has drawn a lot of attention. This has resulted in the focus of attacks over the past weekend being shifted towards the farm workers. This, coupled with the current economic freedom fighters' smokescreen protest against the Clicks group, which is among other things intended to draw attention away from this coverage and create another racial issue that the liberal mainstream media will latch onto in a flash. Now, on the Loving Life channel, we are no longer going to refer to the economic freedom fighters as a political party. We're going to refer to them for the correct terminology, which is a terrorist group. Now, timing of Jason Bartlett's walk to the White House to protest farm murders could not be better. I'll be talking to Jason live tonight at 1 a.m. Johannesburg time. Yes, I know it's late, guys, but it's 7 p.m. on the East Coast, and Jason's got to get some sleep. That's the way it is. And I will be talking to Jason again tomorrow night at 8 p.m. again, Johannesburg time. Jason arrives in Washington, D.C. tomorrow and hopes to have meetings at the White House. Let us pray for Jason and the success of his epic walk. Now, let me get Joanne and Keri on. Give me a second while I just get our guests on. Hi, Joanne.
Good evening, Scott. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Excellent. I'll just get Keri on, and we'll get straight underway. Okay?
Perfect.
So, while we're waiting for Keri to come on, how has your day been? Hi, Keri.
Hi, Scott.
You and Joanne know each other, so I won't give introductions. You just want to say hi to each other?
Hey, Keri.
Keri, I can just see your icon. I can't see you yet.
Scott, my camera is on.
Can you see?
Not sure.
Can you see Keri, Joanne?
No, I can't.
No. Oh, there we are. I think it's going to happen now. No.
Hold on.
Don't you touch anything, Joanne. It's on Keri's
Nope.
side. Okay. Well, look. While Keri's sorting that out, Joanne, let's just get the live stream underway. Please introduce yourself to. We got about 300 people watching at the moment. Introduce yourself to the people watching and the Facebook group and the NPC.
First of all, Scott, I'd like to just say thank you so much for this opportunity to once again be on your channel tonight. I really thank you for the efforts you're doing to assist with our issues in South Africa at the moment. And yes, so a few months ago, about 4 or so, we started a Facebook group, and it is now over 47,000 members, or close to.
Wow.
But early on, I realized that there's quite a few Facebook groups, and I also realized that that's not really going to do or change anything. And it came to me that we should give back. Hi, Keri. There she is. I love your studio.
I can't
hear you, though.
Oh, here we go. I think, yeah, there she is. Hi, Keri. Now we see you.
Sorry, I tried to choose a background. I don't know what that looks like, but
Oh, it
Like a
looks
gem.
cool. It looks very cool.
cool.
So, carry on, Joanne.
Okay, so we had the Facebook group which just exploded, but
Yeah.
there's quite a few groups, and I realized that, there's no use doing anything unless we, first of all, start giving something back. In the sense of, as much as I have events and things coming up, we need to give back to the farmers immediately.
Right.
It's up to us. It's up to every South African citizen. I myself are just a normal person off the street, a mom, a single mom. I've got ups, I've got downs, I've got challenges. But recently, since we've last spoke, Scott, I pretty much jumped off a bridge. And that's how strongly I feel about my NPC and the group.
Right.
I left my 23-year successful career behind for Justice for Farm Murders NPC, because I believe it's something that needs my full attention, and it's a calling from God, and I don't want to sit 6 months from now and say, oh my word, why didn't I listen to it? And all along the way, from the start, I have been blessed with people like Keri and yourself, and that's come along my way, and that has just affirmed everything that I can feel and sense.
Right.
I feel that I must secure a future for my daughter. That's what I'm fighting for, and I think Keri has the same interests with her family. And it's not just about the Facebook group anymore. Our plans are starting to take place now, and that's where Keri comes on board as well.
Right. Now, Keri, if we can just cross to you for a second. Keri, tell us a bit of your background. We'll get into your product a bit later, just so people watching know who you are.
Jeepers. Okay, I'll try to keep it very brief. I live in Hout Bay, Cape Town. When I got involved 8 years ago, I moved to an area that was terrible with regards to crime, worst affected area. It's an area called Penzance. It borders Izamietu, which is the informal settlement. And a neighbor, 10 doors down, a guy got broken into. They took his gun off him, put the gun to his trigger. Put the gun to his head and pulled the trigger. And luckily for him, the bullet got lodged in the chamber, and he didn't die. My neighbor then said to me, we need to do something. And to cut a very long story short, we did. We got very involved. We put up cameras and WhatsApp groups and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Penzance went from being the worst affected area for crime in Hout Bay to the best, or no crime. And there were no incidents for more than 3 years. And neighboring areas asked me, what we had done, and I started helping them. And then about 5 years ago, I walked into the local handyman and into literally my worst nightmare. They were being held up, so everyone was lying on the floor, head down, and guns above them. And I was like, I've created an area where I'm safe in my house and in my direct neighborhood, the suburb I was living in, but not the greater Hout Bay. And then I connected with our ops manager, JJ. And from then, we created a non-profit called CCP, and then almost 2.5 years ago, we took over the running of a control room called Watchcon, which is 24-hour emergency control room. We take absolutely every call for emergency in Hout Bay, from medical to municipal to crime. And Hout Bay so far this year has had 3 house robberies. That's it, for the whole of Hout Bay.
Wow.
So with many things that we've put in place, and a lot of it technology. We've got a very small team. It is non-profit, so it's hand to mouth. But we've put clever systems in place that have given us or afforded us the opportunity to decrease crime to such an extent.
Okay, we'll get onto that in a second. Thank you so much, Keri. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about the buzzer, as you call it.
Sure. Yes.
Now, Joanne, back to you. Tell us where you currently stand on the issue of farm attacks and murders and the protests and work being done, and how the political parties like the EFF are influencing this situation, and I should add the ANC as well.
I think we can add a whole lot more, but let me start by saying currently, and since I've started this group, I'm a very opinionated person, and I've always been. But however, currently I feel a whole lot of range of feelings, from being lost to angry to ashamed to sad. And I've even been approached by some political parties already standing and some new ones. And I've taken a standpoint, and as I said before, that I realized that we need to stop talking and we need to take drastic action first, and then we can spread from there if we've done good already. So I almost feel like the next elections will be the last chance for this country. It will be more important for South Africa than 1994, in my opinion. With regards to uprisings and protests and other groups and other issues in South Africa, I feel that everything falls on deaf ears. However, since all these groups and protests have started, there's been a change, positive and negative. I'm going to use an example. For instance, I don't want to call names, but certain parties, now that it's already brought up by the citizens, now they are bringing it up in Parliament and they are doing something about it. For instance, the head of police, now all of a sudden with the Rafferty case, the pressure is on because of the country rising up against them. Now all of a sudden there's a commission brought there. The problem is not with finding the killers of the Raffertys. It is why and how we can stop the killing. So our government has failed us. That's the end of the conversation with that. And we need to look at things like the basic principles. I've said this before, our borders. there's a lot of reasons why this is happening. Now, it might be EFF, ANC driven, but with my investigations and talking to the farmers and looking at the different areas across the country, all races, everybody, I want to say to you that it is not at all one reason or politically driven or paid for as such. There might be instances, but that's not the case. But whatever it is, we need to safeguard our farmers first.
Right.
That's what I am going to do. So I'm staying away from politics as far as possible at this stage, because my number one priority is securing the farmers as soon as possible.
Right. Now, I just want to say to everybody watching, we've got about 500 people watching right now. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed to the Loving Life channel. And also, if you've got questions you'd like to put to Joanne or Keri during the discussion, please put them in the side chat, and I'll ask the moderators to copy them, and we'll put them to Joanne and Keri later in the live stream. Now, Joanne, I find it quite interesting that, you know, during World War II, because South Africa is like a war zone now, let's face it, but during World War II, it was the women of England who actually went and manufactured the arms and did a whole lot of stuff while the guys were on the ground fighting. And you look at what happened in Zimbabwe when all the young men were out there fighting the terrorists. It was the women who were actually making things happen back in the towns. And now in South Africa, look at this. We got two ladies who do amazing work for the farmers, while the farmers are doing what they do best, which is producing food. And I take my hat off to both of you ladies, because it's just indicative of what's happened in the past in a war zone. Now, let's just talk about the 19th of September. I'm just going to put an image up here that everybody can see, because you've got a protest around South Africa on the 19th, haven't you?
That's correct, Scott.
Okay,
that's
I'm
very
putting
correct.
this on the screen, and it's got all the organizers. There's Alet Potgieter in Johannesburg. There's his phone number. Trevor Elric in Ladysmith. Laura Todkill in Craddock. Gerda Herbst in Rustenburg. Althea Buchan Saidsurf in East London. And yourself in Cape Town. So, if anyone would like to find out more about this protest, which we'll be talking about now anyway, please take down the phone number for your area. I'm going to leave that on the screen for a couple of seconds. Please tell us about the protest, Joanne.
Thank you, Scott. May I just briefly touch on what you said just now? First of all, thank you for that. And I don't think that women are just rising in South Africa. I think it's all across the world that we see that. And I think the main reason for that is women have got a lot of compassion. I think God gave us a sense and a gift to have compassion and probably touch on our feelings more so. And He gave men the physical power to go fight on the ground. But what I want to say on that is it's strange. Some of my members on the group have actually, some males, have called on other males and said, look, we're not calling for a war. We're just calling for men to stand up for a change. But we've seen that happen over the last few weeks with the bikers associations and gender-based violence. And I just need to say that we need to realize that gender-based violence is not necessarily towards only women and children. Just as many men are being abused and violated that we don't know of. So I just want to quickly say that. Then back onto the 19th. So, you know, I'm not much for protests, and especially in Cape Town where I'm doing the specific event, we're not getting positive feedback, and we're being, well, it's not met with a welcome, if I can say that much. So I don't want to test anybody, and I don't want to challenge anybody with our march. My march is simply to show South Africa that justice for farm murders is strong and real, and also to pay remembrance or memoriam to the people that have been lost already and the people that's been affected, everybody, the farmers, the workers, the people we don't know about, the cases where it's not reported as a farm attack or murder. And I just want to make awareness to the fact and keep up the pressure, because the fact that there's people doing this every weekend now, it might get boring for some, but the fact is, at least there is a bit of news on the TV right now, and at least the police is doing something, or saying they are. So we can only hope for the best.
Right. Well,
one more thing. And the information about every single event will be on the Facebook page, and the website has got it as well. And you've got my details, which I'm sure you'll put up, so
yes,
they can contact me directly.
Yeah, I've put the details. Just on that point, if you want to contact Joanne, her details are in the description below this video, how to email her and her website. Now, the 19th of September is a significant date, because that's the same day that the White Cross annual pilgrimage will happen near Petersburg. And we'll be covering that live here on the Loving Life channel. But what I would like to do is reach out to you as well, and if you got feet on the ground, people who are actually at the protests, if they can Skype with me, and we can cover your protest as well live on that day, which is a Saturday.
I'm ahead of you because Otto and Lita and myself, we've all been chatting all the time. So thank you so much. And yes, as I've said before, we will join hands with everybody that stands for all the farmers in South Africa.
Fantastic.
Always.
Fantastic. Okay, now moving on. Let's talk briefly about your website and how to register and why should people register.
I'm going to make it short. We've got 47,000 and rising members, 1,000 per day on Facebook group. However, they're not fair. Who cares for what reasons? It's one-sided. I've personally had admin violation, and it was my first and last warning from them. Certain members have caused us not to be able to share due to violations. So it's irrelevant as to where Facebook stands. However, I could wake up one morning and the Facebook page could be gone. And by then, I need us not to fall back with 4.5 months' work. I need the real people that's willing to make a difference to be on a registered network, a secure network,
right,
where everything is just between the members. And also, they show me that they are committed to our cause. It's not just a place to vent.
Right. Well, I have to tell you that social media is a complete minefield. I have a Twitter account, and believe it or not, I set it up about 15 years ago. I haven't used it, and it's been banned. I don't know what happened, but my Twitter account was banned, even though I've never used it. So it's
I share mine.
Carry on.
I share mine with a Russian girl.
Yeah, well.
And I've blocked her 3 times, but anyway, she's persistent.
Yeah, well, don't talk to me about YouTube. YouTube is a complete not a joke when it comes to the way they treat their channels. Okay, now.
Okay.
Keri, let's move on to your product. Why did you decide to go with technology first instead of security officers and farm protection?
So the reason I went with technology is in Harpe. For example, we stream 900 cameras into our control room. There's absolutely no way we could ever afford 900 guards on the street.
Right.
Looking and watching and then reporting back to us. Technology doesn't fall asleep and can do things that humans can't.
And you can record.
And we can record. We've got LPR, which is license plate cameras. On a busy weekend, they will do 102,000 reads over 24 hours of different license plates. It's just not possible for a human to do that. So that's one of the reasons we use technology. The second was where Buzzer comes into play. We were on WhatsApp groups, and Halpe is massive. There's about 7,000 households. 27 different areas make up those 7,000 households. So you can imagine how many WhatsApp groups there were. And WhatsApp is it's not built to do that. It was built, for chats and groups, but it isn't built to report crime or to respond to crime.
Right.
And that's where Buzzer came in.
Okay, so why? Tell us a bit about the Buzzer. What does it actually do? I mean,
Okay.
You talk about a Buzzer. Have you got one there we can look at?
I can, yeah. I'm going to try. I am.
Is this a sharing screen thing? Let me just change the screen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I talked to you about how we've used technology to change things, and then I'm very technically challenged. But okay, let's see what we can do here.
I'll just put this to speaker view so we can actually see you full screen.
Okay, one sec. Now I need to...
Okay, I've got your screen up.
Okay, just give me a sec.
While she does that, Scott,
Yeah.
may I just say that, that I looked into the security guard aspect as well and training and all of that. But the whole thing is, and once again, I prayed about this because I also looked at the cost of the security guards, and I realized as well, if I I got God to send me 2 security guards for every single farm in South Africa, the attackers could just double up. Can you hold a second,
Joanne? Keri, I think the reason your camera's failed is because it's actually been used by Skype, so it probably won't use both. So I would just leave it. Let's talk about it rather than try and share the screen. Yeah, if you just go back to taking off the share. Sorry, Joanne, carry on.
Yes.
No, let Keri on. Let Keri carry on, please. Carry on. Carry on.
Okay. What are we looking at, Keri?
Close that screen, Keri.
Keri's got her mic off.
Okay. Oh.
I think I'm going to have to try and call Keri back in. Joanne, let's just keep on going while Keri's sorting that out. Okay, where are we?
Okay.
Let's look at this particular area. Why did you register a non-for-profit company? And can you tell us about the subscriptions that people pay and things like that, to actually participate?
Of course. As I said earlier on, I realized we had to do something back, but I also realized that there are farmers who are still operating well and earning a good income, and they set up in the sense of security with gates and fences and cameras, etc. And then right next to them, they might have someone that is really struggling. So instead of just selling the product Buzzer to everyone at the same cost, which not everyone would be able to afford, and setting up the cameras, this is community driven. So in other words, rather everyone in the community has a set fee towards the NPC instead of charging or selling the product to them. So the NPC is going to try and offer as far as possible the application and the units that Keri will tell you about just now.
Right.
But in return, we're going to ask them to donate whatever they really feel like towards the NPC so we can grow this. We plan on instilling this, Keri and myself, into a small farming community first, and then we'll be able to show how effectively this works. I've firsthand witnessed this in Hout Bay, and I had an incident there at the control room on a Sunday afternoon where I stood there, and I feel that we need to show the farmers what's happening. So, but Keri needs to tell you about the app now. I see she's back.
Hi, Keri. Can you take your... Oh, your speaker is on. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you just take off on Joanne's question there?
Sure. On how buzzer works.
Yeah.
Okay, so in essence, there's 3 legs to the triangle. Each leg can actually work by itself, but obviously stronger as the 3 legs. The one is the reporters. So normal residents can download the app, and they download the app for free. And then each area is broken up into zones. So I'll just use Hout Bay for example. As I said to you, Hout Bay has 27 little suburbs in Hout Bay, so Hout Bay has 27 zones.
How many people have you got using it on Hout Bay, the app, I mean?
Just over 7,000.
Wow, so it's really taken root there.
Yeah, and then so we started in Hout Bay, now we've moved across Camps Bay, Sea Point, Greenpoint, and then across to City Bowl, and then around Constantia. There's schools that have taken it in Joburg, areas in Cape Town, in the Western Cape, like Cloete. The whole area is covered by buzzer, so it has spread quite a bit. But let me just go back. So the first leg is responders. And those are just normal residents. And as I said, each area is broken down into zones. Then the next leg is a control room element. So a control room that has a monitor, and then the next leg would be responders. So people that actually respond, like security officers, police, neighborhood watch members, medics, that sort of thing. So now what happens is when in the first leg where someone reports a crime or reports any kind of incident, everyone in that zone gets a message. So the neighbors around you get a message saying whomever has reported and exactly what it is. So it would be, say, a medical, fire, etc., etc. And where you can see on a little map exactly where they are. So who it is, where it is, and what the incident is. And everyone in that zone gets that message. It also then goes to the control room at exactly the same time, and any responder linked to that zone. So the very powerful thing is your neighbors know about it immediately, like a WhatsApp group, but a control room and responders. But what happens if you move outside that zone to the zone next door? You're going for a run, and you get mugged, or you see someone having a heart attack or whatever. When you press for help in that new zone, the neighbors in that zone know about it, and the control room linked to that zone, and the responders. Which starts meaning that, as I said to you just now, Hout Bay is connected, Camps Bay, City Bowl, Town. So if someone lives in Hout Bay and they're in Sea Point having a run on the promenade and they need help and they press for help, the control room in Sea Point hears about it, the neighbors there and the responders there.
Right, so it's GPS based, I take it, and it's called the Buzzer, isn't it? The app's name is the Buzzer.
Yes, it's called Buzzer, yeah.
So for someone to download it right now to their mobile phone, all they do is in the apps is just search on Buzzer. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is there only one Buzzer app there?
No, there's quite a few different buzzers, but they all like make your phone literally go buzz.
Yeah, but how do they find your Buzzer app?
So when you put in buzzer, it will say community safety, and it is like a yellow. It's yellow with looks sort of like
honeycomb.
A high. Yes.
Honeycomb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Keri,
Sorry,
yes.
Joanne, carry on.
I just want to let Keri just quickly mention the actual button that goes with buzzer. That relates to how this could work in a farming community where there's perhaps no cell phone signal, or for the person under attack, or if there is no electricity or the generator's off at night.
Please go ahead, Keri.
Yeah, so actually what we're busy doing is rolling a little button like Joe just said, it's the size of like a remote control, and it has almost 5-year battery life. And as she said, where you press for help, it doesn't need to be anywhere near your cell phone. It doesn't need to have cell phone signal. And the platform we've used for that covers the whole country. So, you know, for us in Cape Town, we have a massive mountain biking community, trail runners, that sort of thing, that don't want to run with a big cell phone attached to them or ride a mountain bike into the mountain. So we've got the button for that, and we've tested it in very, very dead areas all over, and it works very well. So how that relates back to the farmers is, you know, guys are far away from the house, doing whatever they're doing, farming, and if they need help, and obviously not just crime, you know, if it's a medical issue or there's a fire or they need help from each other, they can press that panic button and it will then alert the neighbors around them that someone needs help and exactly where they are.
Now, obviously, the neighbors have to have buzzers on their cell phones as well to actually get that alert.
100%. So they would have to have buzzer to get the alert, but part of Joe's plan is to have a control room for farmers. I don't know if I've stolen your thunder there, Joe, but for Justice for Farm Murders, that she is able to take those signals and then get people from the area to go assist.
Not personally, though. Not personally.
Yeah.
Well equipped.
Yeah. Tell us a bit more about that, Joanne.
Okay, so, you know, the first thing is I need to go to the farmers. Every community is different. Okay, I can't sit here in Cape Town in wherever I stay, and I have made contact with a few. I have been out on the road, but only close, and I've chatted to some in different areas. But I am planning a road show, and I'm hoping, depending on how things go, that it will be starting as soon as next month. Okay. My plan with that is to take on board myself, some of my security people, and to go and sit with the farmers. I have been in correspondence with some of them. I'm sending out letters. I'm contacting forums. It's coming along quite well. And then I'll create a route, and I'm literally going to invest my time in hearing what their needs are and offering them the buzzer system, because this cannot work without everybody on board. Okay, so, but there's no reason that they wouldn't want to try this out. But I do feel that we need to go out there and see every area and see how we're going to implement this, if I can say, tailor-made to that specific community. Also, Keri mentioned earlier on about zones. I need to mention that a zone can be as small or as big as you want it to be. Okay, so that's why we need to go and actually do the homework in each area, and then from there on we can go ahead.
Right. Now,
why
I think this is a perfect product for the farms or the farmers is because the farm workers and the farmers, they're like family. Although they're still farm workers, you know, they are very, very close to the farmer. And a lot of people don't understand this fact. I mean, I talk to a lot of farmers, and you know, they would put their lives down for their farm workers, and vice versa. So you've got an automatic community with the farmer, who are the farm workers, because they will have cell phones. So if all those farm workers who work for a farmer have the app on their phones, wow, what a response would happen if something did go wrong on that farm.
I'll use an example, Scott. Just this week, or sorry, my days aren't days anymore, but within the last week, we had the incident where the farmer was lured out by the farm workers being tied up. So if that farm worker had a remote, he could alert not only the farmer, but everyone in that community.
Yes.
And also later, we can assess where the hotspots for certain things are. So we can see what reasons are behind the attacks in which areas, and then we can start making plans and addressing them.
Well, I tell you what, there's an absolutely perfect product for that, and it's been brought out by Adrian Lloyd at Dahlstrom. I think I mentioned to you, unfortunately Adrian couldn't make it tonight. He's got another meeting on. But I think I've put you in touch, haven't I? Or,
Yes, I spoke to him today, and he's got something more important, but it's also for the farmers on tonight. So,
Yeah.
but we are definitely sharing ideas already. Thank you so much.
Because his product is based on a map, a digital map, and you can actually plot where all these incidents are happening. So that's a perfect match with your product. Okay, so let's continue. Keri, how did the buzzer come to you, and why did you think it was the way forward?
Okay, so to go back to how I started, I lived in this area called Penzance, right next to Zamietu, and there we had a WhatsApp group with like 200 people on it, and then I had a WhatsApp group with 30 guys and maybe 1 or 2 girls that were willing to respond when available. So what I had found, and you know, the old neighborhood watch structure of people being put onto a patrol at a certain time had stopped working, because, you know, if someone had a 2 to 4 a.m. shift, they wouldn't get up, or they were out with friends or whatever, and they weren't accountable. But what I found is having a group of 30 guys that if I said there's an incident, there would always be 5 guys that were available, even if it was 4 a.m. So that triangle I spoke about was the reporters, so all the residents on a group, and then myself as the control room, and the responders, these guys. And an issue would come through, I would then take it and put it on the responders group, and I would be the map. You know, in my head, I knew that Michael lived on this street and John lived there, and you know, Heinrich lived there. And when there would be an issue, I'd say, guys, who's available? And whoever would be available, I'd position them around the neighborhood from my head, because I knew where they lived and I knew the neighborhood. And what started happening is our response time to any issue was about 45 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. Neighbors helping neighbors, guys that were available, and it was Zamietu, which is the formal settlement, Penzance, and right next door Bergendal, which is a security estate, high security estate. And what started happening is, because our response time was so good, the high security estate next door was being broken into to such a degree they had 15 house break-ins in 6 weeks, and the guys wouldn't even run through Penzance back to Zamietu. They would run into the mountain and around Penzance, because our guys were just so reactive. And that's where the thought of the triangle came. And then myself and Jess, who's my partner, she's a Dutch lady with a systems engineering background, sat down and we're like, you know, how do we do this? And how do we plan it out? And is it something that will just work in Penzance or just work in Hout Bay? So obviously I could do it in Penzance, but I couldn't do it in the whole of Hout Bay. So we then put together a workshop where we got residents from all over Hout Bay. So from the informal settlement, from the fishing village, from Hout Bay, we got residents that were, you know, in their 20s and understood technology, and residents in their 80s and were a little bit slower on technology. We put like groups together and worked out, you know, our thought, Jess and my thought was, this is how we're going to do it, but we wanted feedback from responders and residents and all ages, and that's how we came up with the final concept for Buzzer. And then we thought there must be something like this out there. You know, someone must be doing this, and turns out no one was doing it. So Jason and myself found developers in Israel that do security software, and partnered with them. They understand security software very well, but they didn't understand community security software, and we partnered with them, and that's how Buzzer came about.
Wow. Okay, now I have the elephant in the room question. Now, you said you've got 900 cameras set up around Hout Bay. How did you fund that?
I didn't. So, as I said, Half Bay has 27 different areas. Our camera policy for Watchcon is that each area is responsible for the paying of their own cameras. And those cameras need to be on analytics, and those cameras need to be monitored, which was my suggestion to Joe as well for farmers. So Half Bay is a mix between CIDs, which are city improvement districts. They are security estates. They are just normal areas where residents have clubbed together. We give specs on the cameras we suggest. We also say these are the three analytic companies that we find very good, and these are the monitoring companies that we find very good. But go out, do your own research, and then choose. And then we take a secondary stream. So what will happen is cameras in area A will start benefiting cameras in area B. So, if there's an issue in camera A, we'll open all the cameras in in area A and B and C, and then tell the different areas what's going on. So we'll alert them very quickly that there's been an issue in the neighboring area, and we'll use all the cameras to then track what's happening.
Right. Now, how do those cameras come back to the control room? I mean, how does the signal come back to you? Is this by internet, or is it by some other way?
Oh, so some of it is that the area will send all the camera feeds to a network point, and we'll stream that to ourselves via internet or fiber. And then in other areas, we actually have dishes that bounce the signal back to us.
Ah, sounds terribly complicated. But I guess once you got it going, it's easy. Now, let's say, for example, I was in Durban. I was living in the Bluff in Durban, and I wanted to incorporate your system. What are the processes that people have to go through? For example, do you get a group of friends together who get down the free Buzz app, and then you expand that group? What is the process to actually get on board with this?
Okay, so if you lived in Durban and the Bluff, we have people that phone from various areas and say they would like a Buzz in the area, and we can easily draw in that area. So we'll say, okay, what is your zone, and we'll define that zone by GPS points, or people literally sometimes just draw on a map, or roads, and then it could be neighbors download, or ideally it's connected to some sort of security company. Sorry, that is a alert. Ideally, it's connected to some security company, which is best. Each zone is not unlocked until there are a minimum of 15 people in each zone, so that we can make sure people respond to each other, or it's connected to a control room.
Right. Okay, now I've got a couple of questions here for you, which I'm just going to put to you. Gerard Bielefeld says, what about load shedding and blackouts? I guess what impact does that have on the system?
So it would be back to the buttons and individual households. So fortunately, where I live, when there is load shedding, I still have cell phone signal. Our control room will always have cell phone signal and electricity. We've got a generator, but then the buttons would work in areas that don't have cell phone signal.
So what you're saying is, let's say there was a blackout, and
yes.
I heard people trying to break into my house. I would press that button on buzzer, and the neighbors, despite there being a blackout, would get a message saying, "Hey, house X is being invaded at the moment. Can you go and rally around?" Is that right?
Well, if neighbors had cell phone signal. So if there was no cell phone signal at all, then obviously nothing works. You can't call for help. WhatsApp doesn't work, etc., etc. But if you had to press the button, the control room would still get it and send response.
So even if there was no cell phone coverage, the buzzer still works.
Yeah. The button still works. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. Okay.
And Scott, can I just quickly add? Remember that Buzzer, like it is currently running in Hart Bay as well, includes every single security company in that area. So we're hoping to get the farm protection companies on board, but it also includes all your government response units and the community. So within 2 minutes, everybody gets that some form of communication. Now, if everybody's down, if I might just add, if there's a total blackout in an area, that's once again something that no one's going to overcome anyway. And that's once again why we need to address things here and not have issues like blackouts in South Africa. But besides that, but when it comes to signal and electricity being down, the button will still operate without it.
And still alert people around you so they can come and assist.
Exactly, because one farm could be 50 or 150 k's away from the next one. So your neighbor might have signal, or he's not on a generator, and he might get your alert, but you might just be on the button. Okay.
Right. But if he's depending on the farm workers, they would still be alerted if they had the system.
That's correctly.
Okay,
that's correct.
That's great. Okay, so Jan van Riebeck says maybe it would be an idea to bring this product up with General Isaac van Zyl of Boereligioen, so Isaac can help get it out there on the farms. Now, Isaac has a tremendous network in the smaller towns right around South Africa. If you like, I'll put you in touch with him, because this could be an excellent product. Jan here has written, the app will only work on the mobile cell phone network operator. Better use UHF radio signals. Now, you're saying the button will work without Wi-Fi or without cell phone networks?
Yes.
Okay. So Jan here, that it'll work even if there is no cell phone network?
Yes.
All right. I think I've covered the questions I've seen so far coming through. Okay, now you're planning to do a roadshow, aren't you, to meet with farmers and implement the whole buzzer system. What are your plans with regard to that?
As I said, we're currently sending out correspondence. Obviously, I'm going to start close to home, and I've built up quite a network here.
Right.
And I've already gone and seen some farmers. But as I briefly mentioned earlier on, is that Keri and myself are currently working on possibly implementing the system in a small town or community close to where we are. And then within quite a short period, we should have very positive results, or we should be able to show other farmers in detail how this operates. The proof is in the pudding. So that is plan A. And then, as I said, depending on the feedback from the farmers, I'm going to give it about another 2 weeks to run, and then I'll decide my route that we'll go along and go see these farmers and communities. It's the only way for people to, I think, I still believe in face-to-face value. I always sell with who I am and just being me. So I need to go put across to everybody that I'm for real, and I need to go show them how this app is actually working and benefiting some other people.
Right. Now, John De Ponte has just put in a comment. He says, what about radio signal jammers? Will the buzzer system still work if someone's got a jammer on?
Yes, it will.
There's your answer. Yes, it will. All right. Okay. Now, the other
buzzer
areas.
Is like a bee.
Sorry. Yes. Carry on, Jan.
I just thought of this, and I'm always silly. But buzzer is a honeycomb. The sign. I don't know if there's a reason to this, but it's like a bee. We need to value it, and it's going to work. It really answers the day. I walked into Keri's office to actually go see what God sent me through your network, by the way. The button just came along, I think, or just before that. Am I right, Keri? And it was almost like it was, I said to her, what about cell phone network, electricity? And she said, wait. And she ran into the other room and came back with this little black remote. And I'm like, okay. And then I experienced it firsthand right there. So I know there's going to be doubt. We're all very negative in this country, and it's fair to doubt people and have questions. At least we're asking questions now. But I promise you that this can really work if everybody helps us and gets on board.
Well, I think for the farmers it's a perfect solution. As I say, you've got all the farm workers. If they've got a cell phone, and they will be the ones who would respond to, let's say, a farm attack. Because you can imagine how the attackers would feel if there are 50 farm workers suddenly just, coming down to the farmhouse in a group. They would scatter very quickly.
Yes, exactly. But even an incident like where there's a snake bite.
Yeah.
And you, somewhere like Keri mentioned earlier on, kilometers away, then there's an answer for everything. So
how do you get the GPS location in that event? Let's say a farmer's been working on his farm and he breaks his leg. He can't move.
Am I right? It's satellite, Keri? Is it satellite?
Yeah, so if he can't move, he's either going to pull his phone out of his pocket and press for help, or hopefully have his baton around his neck or in his pocket and press for help, and that will give cell phone signal.
But it will, by pressing the button, will people in the area know exactly where he is?
Yes, they'll know exactly.
So they'll be able to walk through the bush and there he is. Wow.
And there he is, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. That's fantastic. Yeah. Right. Now, obviously, running an operation like this costs money. Obviously, donations are something that you are looking for to actually finance your time and administering the whole thing. First to you, Keri, and then we'll cross to Joanne on this question.
Okay, so with regards to which one? So my control room is completely donation based, but we luckily have donations that cover that. And then with regards to Buzzer, it's free for neighbors to download, but if a security company in the area links to it, there's a small cost, and that's hopefully how we'll fund Buzzer.
Okay. Joanne, what about your operation? I guess it's more it's more donation based.
Completely. Okay, so look, I've done months of research, and my heart is into this. Like I said, I've given up a very successful career. I literally jumped off a bridge, and now I need, let me look you in the eye when I do this. My mom says look up. So now I need South Africans to actually do something. I'm very transparent. Everything I put out on my webpage, my group, I include everybody, and I've really done some hard work. But yes, it is donation based. I want to now take the opportunity to thank those who've already contributed from South Africa as well as abroad. There's quite a few people, anything. Even if it's 50 Rand a month, you'll be able to donate if you visit our page on a monthly basis. This is what I aim for, so that we can budget and move with a purpose. But I'm not going to say no to any once-off donations either. But the point is, if we can get people to subscribe and we can show them return, I know this is going to be successful. And I'm going to ask God to lead the way. And I've got full confidence in this, so I hope everybody else will too. I know it sounds wimpy and whiskey, but myself and a whole lot of people from my admin, my other directors, we're working day in and day out now to get these contributions on board.
Right. Now, Gerard Bielefeld has asked, does the people that respond, do they have proper training? You can't just go in and skop skiet and donner for a huisbraak nie.
It depends on the area. So, yeah, if the area is set up with security, guards that do, but in many areas, neighbors help neighbors. It's the same as WhatsApp groups. It's just much more clear and defined. And unfortunately, in this country, we've been left to have neighbours helping neighbours. And as I said, in Penzance, where we started, just by neighbours turning up, doesn't necessarily mean they need to skop, skit and dorner, but just by having a presence of 5 cars rocking up or 10 cars rocking up, and very quickly, it quickly tells guys, this isn't the area, move along.
Yeah, exactly. Now, okay, what about the situation where, what was it? What about the situation where people don't have a cell phone? I guess then there's no way they can use the buzzer system. You got to have that app coming down to your cell phone.
Yeah, you need to have a cell phone.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, Joanne, getting back to you, you mentioned earlier that you're going to be going on basically a demonstration process to farmers of how the system works. Now,
Yes.
which area are you going to be starting? Because I don't think you actually nominated which area you're working in specifically at the moment.
We are working. Oh, sorry, hold on. What's going on? Sorry. Can you see me?
I can see you, yeah. And I can hear you.
Sorry, I don't know what
That's
happened.
okay.
Okay, so where am I going to start will definitely be as close as home as far as possible. But we are all over the country. My directors, my admin, everybody is spread across the country. So the aim is to go to as many places as possible. I'm not going to mention any specific towns. I do feel personally that the Western Cape, I want to say, is probably more blessed than some of the other regions when it comes to profits and things like that. So I don't necessarily want to help the farmers that already can protect themselves. So it will depend on the sort of feedback, like I said, that I get over the next 2 weeks. Okay, but we've got hands and networking communities and other groups that is working in, and I will go as far as it takes me. And by the way, I need some accommodation and lodging. I love staying on a farm.
And the nicest
so
thing
any
about
offers welcome.
the nicest thing about staying on a farm is breakfast. When you have that maize meal porridge, oh wow, that is just beautiful.
Exactly. But I'm quite looking forward to a leg of lamb on a Sunday.
I can see what motivates you now. Now, Keri, is there anything we haven't covered yet about the buzzer? Is there anything you'd like to just add to the discussion?
Scott, so I saw one of the questions or notes about being a moderator. Yeah, there is definitely moderators in the area. So there is not a super user community admin that can kick people off, accept people, that sort of thing. And I think that's about it.
Okay. All right, well, look, I'm going to wrap up this live stream shortly, guys. I've got another live stream, remember, at 1 o'clock in the morning, your time, South African time. And that's with Jason Bartlett, who's on the very doorstep of the White House. And tomorrow he will actually walk up to the White House, and he's going to take some video footage for me of him approaching the White House. And I'll be talking to Jason at 1 o'clock tomorrow morning, your time in Johannesburg, and again at 8 p.m. tomorrow night, after he's arrived at Washington, D.C. and settled in and finding out what's actually happening. So we're going to have 2 crosses live to Jason in the next 24 hours. Now, having got that off and don't forget, Jason's going there because his main aim is to try and get to speak to President Donald Trump about the farm murders and farm attacks in South Africa. So it's very, very relevant to this discussion here. Now,
Yes.
Having said that, Okay, now Viking Boer has actually raised a very good point just before we go to the final stage. He says, you guys should get people in all the areas to help you do the marketing. I guess the buzzer really markets itself, doesn't it? Because they can do this themselves. They can just have it. When it comes to the zone, this is a thought, Keri. When it comes to setting up that zone, who do they speak to actually have that implemented on the system?
So they can just email info@buzzer. If the zone hasn't been set up, it will say buzzer's not active in the area. And if the zone has been set up, it will say that you need X amount of people in order to make it go live. And that's obviously because we need to make sure that there are enough people in the area to help if someone needs help.
Okay, now that
so
email,
yeah, info@buzzer and .co.za, and we can set up a zone very quickly.
Okay, so the email is info@buzzer.co.za.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's BUZZER. Okay.
Correct.
Now, what I'd like to do is, I was given firm instructions by Joanne. She didn't want this live stream going for 2 hours.
It's normally my fault. I don't stop till I'm well behaved tonight. I must say I'm very well behaved.
Well, you can start us off in the closing off, Joanne. Is there a message you'd like to give to everybody who's watching this live stream now and who might be watching it later?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, thank you for watching. And if I could send one message across, it is that we don't need to fight. We just need to do good in order to have change, and a change for the better in South Africa. So it just takes someone small like myself or Keri a couple of years ago. I can actually now learn from her and from yourself, Scott, and so many other people out there. So just take that step and reach out. Even if we might not agree or it might not be us holding hands in the end, I could probably lead you in a different direction. And then after that, I'd just like, if I may, to just say a very short prayer for the farmers in South Africa to just keep them safe tonight, because that's what this is all about for me and Keri. She's got bigger concerns, but that's why she approached me and why you and myself got in contact as well. So, if I may.
Sure. I'll get you to do that right at the end of the live stream, Joanne. Keri, is there something you'd like to say to everybody? You got your mic off. Don't worry, I do that all the time.
Just to reiterate what Joe said, and and thank you very much for having me on your show.
Well, I just want to congratulate you, Keri, because obviously the system works, and Hart Bay proves that. You got 7,000 people in that area using it. That just speaks for itself. Well done. And
thank you.
Do you have a website for the buzzer?
Sorry, I lost you there.
Do you have a website?
Buzzer.co.za.
Okay, so if you want to look up the product and find out more about it, just go to buzzer.co.za. Okay, fantastic. Now, Joanne, back to you for the closing prayer.
Okay, thank you so much. God, thank you for choosing me and my team and people like Keri and Scott to address a very serious situation in South Africa. One that hurts us, one that makes us angry, and something that confuses us sometimes. But God, lead us into the right direction. And tonight specifically, I want to pray for each and every farmer in South Africa and every farm worker and everyone that lives in an area where they're sort of cut off from the rest of us. People that provide to us, Lord, on a daily basis. They work without questions. They don't have time to defend. They're here to give. So God bless them and keep them safe tonight and tomorrow and always. And help us to stand strong for them and give us the courage to help them. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Joanne. Now, just to reiterate, I've got Joanne's email address and website down below this video in the description, and I'll also put Keri's buzzer website down below in the description. So if you want to contact either of them, that's a way to do it. I just want to thank the moderators for doing the fantastic job, as they always do. And I want to thank everybody who's joined us tonight. I hope it's been of interest to you. And don't forget, as I said, 7 p.m. United States Eastern Coast time, or 1 a.m. in the morning. Tomorrow morning, I'm going live with Jason Bartlett, and that's 1 a.m. Johannesburg time. And tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Johannesburg time, I'll again be going live with Jason Bartlett after his arrival at the White House in Washington, D.C. So it's going to be a very interesting 24 hours. Having said that, guys, I just want to thank you for joining us tonight. Please share this video with all your friends, especially if they're farmers. I think this buzzer idea has got a tremendous amount of potential, especially for the farming community. And thank you, Joanne and Keri, for the great work you're doing. And with that, I'm going to shut down the live stream. Please, guys, take care and be safe. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh, I will leave.